Hey, everybody. This is your host with the most ADHD, which is why I created this format, the hot seat for the C suite. And I'm thankful to have my guest today, Matt Rose, joining me from TechRage IT. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
It is my pleasure with my fancy new step and repeat behind me so y'all don't have to take a look at my kitty cats in the background. All right, let's get right to it. That's the whole point of this thing. Very first question for you, Matt, is where specifically do you guys fit in the MSP ecosystem and who specifically are you serving?
So we always have called ourselves a full service MSP. Typically go after clients that have 10 to call it 100 computer users or people that are using technology. We have a little more of a vertical with manufacturing and construction, but at this point, we'll pretty much go for anybody that understands that technology is a need they have, understands they have to spend some time and money on it. The only thing we don't do a whole lot of is medical.
All right. And I guess another note for everybody watching who's watched any of the previous episodes is again with the ADHD, wonderful tax. There's no clock on the screen, but you know what? I'm actually going to leave it like this because I find it that it's just one less thing to be distracting on screen. Matt, you clearly are answering in nice, brief answers and you've prepared for this. So I don't think you need to be staring at the clock, or you can have one on your end if you want. All right. Question number two. Beyond outsource IT, what is the high stakes business problems that you solve for that client?
So we really want to, it is outsourced IT, but we really want them to understand that we're not just, outsourced IT. We're a partner. We're their IT department. We really want to help them grow as a company, and that really is where we feel like we differentiate ourselves. We don't just want to get called when emails not working or printers are broken. We want to actually hear where their business is going. We want to be able to help them from a technology standpoint to grow and even connect them to other people in our ecosystem. So if they're doing something with a CRM or ERP, we may not do it, but we can help them connect to good people that do it instead of just Googling and, hoping to find somebody good.
That's awesome. So effectively, you want to be a team member. You want to be
Mhm.
part of that team, not just being seen as, oh, call these guys when such and such breaks. And obviously that makes a
Exactly.
lot of sense because to the extent that you can help them grow by, your wheelhouse in technology, and maybe that's not theirs, that means that you'll be having growth as well, right? They grow, they're going to have more computer users, more growth for your company. So that's a great investment.
Exactly. Yep.
Question number three, what is your proprietary edge, if you will, a unique process or tech stack or service model that sets you apart?
So I think what we're big on is, we've always tried to follow best in class metrics. And, a lot of that is just on being efficient. But where we really find we're different is it's great to say you have the best tech out there, but that doesn't really mean anything. We will hire and train for customer service first and foremost, because I can train anybody on tech. The team can do that. And we find that, with the name Tech Rage, for example, people always come to us with their worst moods, their worst day. And we got to solve the problem, and sometimes that can happen instantly, but other times you got to research and you got to meet the customer where they're at. You got to realize they're not happy, and if you're at least polite to them, you're calm, you're not just spitting out jargon, they appreciate when you're working on it and working through it, even if you're taking a little longer. So we want to make sure people realize the customer service is a huge aspect of it. We don't want to be those stereotypical IT guys who tell you just turn it off and on again either.
All right. So it sounds like your edge is the human quality that you guys really train your people to understand and be empathetic that the people on the other end of the phone might be really stressed out with what's going on. All right. So that moves right into the next question. Give us a 60-second war story. Like, what is an urgent crisis that you guys handled and how you responded for a client?
I'll give you a really recent one. We actually had a prospect call us just a few weeks ago that I've been talking to on and off for a couple of years, who had some internal IT, and they were always afraid their internal IT was going to walk out the door on them. And unfortunately, last Monday they did. And they walked out deleting stuff on their way out, taking all the passwords, really holding them hostage. And we spent 3 days on site recovering all their servers, helping them get through things. We're still kind of limping along because we don't normally onboard like that, but I mean, they couldn't be happier. Again, goes back to we've been having that human element. We've been helping them keep their business afloat, and honestly, it's been a war story, but I think we've gained a customer for life.
For sure. And sounds like that would be a great case study once it's all over that you can immortalize, whether that's in video, blog posts, et cetera. But it's those war stories, I think, that really tell people the extent to which you guys can rise to the occasion. All right. Next question. How is AI changing the game for your clients right now? And how are you using it as a change agent within your own operations?
So if I think for our clients, I think everyone's trying to figure out how best to use it without, and where we're trying to tell them to use it as securely as possible. So everyone wants to use it. I think it's different for each company. We've got clients who are setting up agents with Copilot. We've got other clients who are trying to properly set up, Claude Desktop and co-work. Luckily, none that are trying to do like, Claude Bot or anything like that. But,
Yet.
I think they're all, yeah, they will. They'll want to at least. I think it's that they're all finding the use for it. A lot of times it is in making that easier to find HR document or, helping them pull the financial numbers quicker. So I think everyone's finding their niche for what it is. Where I caution them on is try not to just do it for everything because the juice may not be worth the squeeze. And flip side internally, we've been using it for a while and we're really starting to integrate it more and more into our service desk where right now we're getting ready to launch that AI will try to solve some issues. We're going to keep that human touch. The communication we're going to put out to clients is that, hey, if you give it some information, you might get your problem auto fixed. It doesn't mean you can't get us. It doesn't mean we're getting rid of staff by any means,
Sure.
but
First
it's,
layer of defense, it's
yep,
instantaneous. Hopefully it gives you the right answer. If not, escalate it to the humans.
exactly. Yep. And so we're
Yeah,
doing a lot
that's
of
great.
that and using it internally to just try to get our information quicker.
That's awesome. So, what's your primary lever for growth right now, whether it's vertical expansion, a deeper service integration, and what is the biggest obstacle to hitting that goal?
So currently, really current lever to growth, we've been just doing a lot of networking and referral based, and that's been really working out for us over the past 6 months. We've had our best new client growth in our history. So that's been fantastic. And it just took from, the hard work of being at morning and evening events and meeting people in the community. Would love to at some point find the right M&A opportunity, but those are, I'm not going to be desperate for one and I'm not going to overpay and nobody wants you to underpay either. So I think that's where we're really focusing and what's really working for us. We've put all our efforts into sponsorship and going to networking events and various groups and meeting those people in the
And
various
did
industries.
anything change? Because you said that it was like, the best it's ever been. So, was there something that you fundamentally started doing differently from a networking perspective or from a referral generation perspective that really kicked in?
So probably almost 2 years ago, I made a really concerted effort to trying to go to 1 to 2 networking events per week, trying out different groups, really taking the good ones out in, the bad ones out of what, if it wasn't the right fit. And I was going consistently to these events that may have been every 2 weeks or every month, joining various things. We joined Provisors about a year ago, so certain things that anybody can do and just showing up and meeting the same people, not being salesy at the events, just having conversations with people. And everybody told me it could take a year to 2 years, and it took a year and change, and it's like the gates opened up, and now people, hey, you need IT? Hey, Matt and TechRage. Like it's just
I
who
love
you
it.
know.
That is so I'm all about the C2C playbook and whether that's content to contracts or conversations to conversions. And you're really proving another C, which is consistency. And if you can be consistent about creating conversations, I like to say to my clients that the most important metric that you should be really tracking in terms of growth, how many conversations a day or a week or a month, a quarter are you having with people that can affect the bottom line of your business, be that a customer, be that a referral partner, a strategic partner, value added reseller, whatever it is. And so you're doing it and it's proving out. So I'll be pulling this clip for my own purposes. Okay. So along those lines, where's your company in 5 years? What should people be paying attention to as they follow your company?
So I think we're poised for some pretty solid growth. I think that we're looking to, we're in the Central Florida area. I think we have a huge opportunity we already are one of the major players here. I think we have an opportunity to really, really be the player here based on what we're doing. So I think our company is going to grow. I'm looking to be, looked upon as an employer people want to work for here that they know of. But I also, with things like AI, I'd rather pay the employees I have that are dedicated to us better and not have to just have, and that's I think the idea of AI. I don't want to get rid of people. I want to pay the people that are there with me more and I want them to stay longer and be more dedicated. So I think it's proper growth, it's controlled, but it's doing all the right things in the back end so that we consistently are bringing on new clients and showing ourselves to the community.
I got to tell you, Matt, it's the first time I've heard a company owner say that we want to leverage AI so we can pay our employees more. I love that. And I think that when you really focus on your people, I think there's certain retail organizations that knew how to do this. If you take care of your people will take care of your customers. So
Mhm.
I think that's a really great point. All right, we're coming to the last question here. What is the one thing I didn't ask you about your business or your market that everybody needs to know?
Yeah, see, that one's probably the toughest one. I think one thing that's always an interesting thing to look about the business is, or even the market, is that Orlando is, I always find it to be an interesting market. You look at Atlanta, you look at South Florida, there's a lot of PE backed MSPs, and they, for better or for worse, they have a control of it. They sometimes ruin it. Sorry. For sometimes that Orlando's interesting in that sense. If you look around, there were mostly all the great MSPs here are all privately owned. And so we can mostly do what we want. And it makes great competition because I don't have that easy, oh, this company just sold to so and so. But I think it also makes the competition that much better because everyone is family or privately owned, that they really, really try harder and have a huge care for the customer base.
That's awesome. Well, you did it. You sat through the hot seat. You got through the questions. I think you told a great story. Matt, if people want to follow up with you, check out your company, give us some of the places where they should go.
Yeah. So LinkedIn's always a great one to find me. I believe you can just look up Matt Rose. I know my LinkedIn address is Matthew A. Rose from years ago, and there's a ton of Matt Roses for some odd reason. Apparently, my parents are not very unique, so I'll blame them for that. Also, TechRageIT.com is our website. If you ever want to reach out, I'm always happy to talk to anybody.
That is awesome. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of the Hot Seat for the C-Suite, the MSP edition, the VIPs of MSPs. And clearly, Matt Rose is one of those VIPs. Thank you so much. If you know somebody that should be sitting in the hot seat, maybe they are an MSP founder, CEO, let me know. You can reach me on LinkedIn. We'll see everybody next time. Thanks so much.